Hold on a second. And we're recording. Good. Okay, welcome everybody to our introduction to our group. I'm in my office in Chicago here. We've been doing introductions since 2007 to our group. The wall behind me is full of awards that we've been decorated with because we've done such a great job. And our intention today, I'm actually going to share my screen to get this meeting started, because in order to see my PowerPoint, you're going to have to do that. And you're also going to have to see some of the stuff I share online with you guys. So let's get this thing going. All right. Why are you here and why are we here? Why are we here together? We're here together because we have been executing a program of helping people get into real estate investing for, well, 11 years now out of this building. So the picture you see right there is actually the picture of the office that I'm in. So this is the same room. And that's a picture of us on Thursday evening. Not only do we have this room full on Thursday evening with the people that are checking us out, so you guys watching at home, watching this webinar, and the people seated in this room are the same, checking out what's going on, seeing if this is worth it, seeing if this is going to work out for you. And our intention today is to make sure that that's occurring. Does that make sense? Whether it's you checking us out to do real estate or you're looking for some type of new income in your life, like I was. I sat in this room back in 2007. My wife and I, we'd lost our jobs, so we subsequently lost our place to live. We lost our place in South Beach. We had to turn the cars in because we couldn't afford them anymore, and things were in a bad place for us. My wife saw this meeting first after seeing a roadside sign of all things. I told her it wouldn't work. Like, please don't answer the handwritten roadside sign. She dragged me down to the second meeting. Long story short, I will show you some of the real estate stuff that we are doing today. My kids are 7 and 13. They're doing real estate today. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a life changer. You'll see the numbers and everything that we do through this webinar. But the reason that we do this, two reasons. One, I want to train you. So you should probably get your cameras ready with your cell phones, because a lot of the stuff you're not going to retain unless you can go back to see it. So get your cameras ready, and don't get feverishly writing stuff down, trying to keep up with it. I've only got a few slides to cover, but because it's a training, we're going to talk about those slides and dissect them a little bit. It's better if you have those slides on your camera to look at later on. And if you have to show this to somebody else later on, it's a lot easier to show them a camera or your phone than it is your face, right? So this is how my wife tried to get down to me. So when she saw this meeting at a hotel, she came running home and she was like, "It was incredible." And the face wasn't as good as information on a phone would have been. So just a heads up from the past, I guess. Okay, so that's our building in Chicago. This model has worked out so well. Then the reason that we're doing webinars right now, about 6 years ago, we started doing these webinars. We actually have cameras in the ceilings here, and we have cameras in all of our study groups. This building is 10,000 square feet. It's got 3 training centers, got 11 executive offices, and we cannot fit the 600 people that pass through this place on Thursday evenings, every Thursday evening for the last 11 years. We now have contracted space outside of this building to handle our classes, and it's been fantastic. But the model has worked so well here in Chicago that we decided to start looking for talent around the country that we could open these situations around. So now we have spaces all over the country. In fact, tomorrow I'll get on a plane at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be in Seattle to do a meeting down there, helping them get to this point. Then I'll take a plane on Wednesday to go to LA and help them do it there. I already have the 2 cities I'm going to pick out, probably 3 cities in July to December that I'm going to be helping out. But that's us, right? That's what we've been able to do. We're kicking butt. My wife and I today control over 100 doors. But it doesn't matter what our story is. What really matters is your story today. So please take a picture of this. In order to get to where we needed to be with the group that you're witnessing right now on this webinar, we needed to adjust our focus. And they made it real simple for us. It wasn't gray. It wasn't like speculative. It was very black and white. It was either you're choosing one or you're choosing the other, which is good for my brain because I'm not very emotional. I'm very logical, right? So this was good for me. And when I came down to that meeting my wife dragged me down to, this is what it looked like in that first meeting, so it made a lot of sense, and we got started the week after. All right, so for you guys as a training, take a picture of this screen. Our real goal for anybody that actually moves forward with us is to adjust your focus. from low financial efficiency where I was when I came down here to high financial efficiency. And that starts with our debt. So every day I woke up, I didn't go to work because I liked work. I got paid $212,000 a year. Every Monday I got to work, there were $212,000 a year worth of problems on my desk, and they had first and last names usually. So I didn't wake up because I liked it. I woke up every morning to go to work because if I didn't, I would lose my house, my car, and my wife. Same with you, right? Okay. And then at the end of the week, when I got my check, the taxes were taken out of it, right? So, and then whatever I had left over, I would go buy liabilities, things that would cost me money once and then continue to cost me money over time because somebody had designed it that way so that I would be a human resource to them. All right. Now, what these guys helped me do right away, and I'm talking about right away. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I was able to do within 2 weeks of starting with this group. They started introducing me to income systems. And there were really 2 income systems that were available. Again, my wife and I, because of those income systems, haven't needed a job since. Then they said, okay, now that you're making the money, the government's going to want some, so let's give it to them after you're done with it, which means that instead of you paying taxes like the government wants you to pay, why don't we actually have you tell the government what you owe instead of them telling you? I'm like, that sounds good. How's that work? I'll show that tonight or today. Then a debt acceleration. So a lot of us are involved in amortized debt, whether you have student loans, car loans, or house loans, and usually it happens in that order, right? You have a student loan first, and you get a car loan, then you get a house loan. All of it is evil debt, so you might want to write that down. Amortization equals evil, and we're going to show you exactly how to get out of that quicker if you stick with our program here. And then finally, assets. How do I turn the things that I spend money on into the things that make me money? Does it make sense? So whether you have a car you're spending money on, how do we make money on it? If you have a cell phone that you're spending money on, how do you make money on it? How about your house? Right, so I'm going to show you how we adjusted all that, and then you get to make a decision after this webinar whether that's going to be something you're going to participate in or not. Okay, all right. So let's start with what we are. So this is your new story, possibly, right? An adjust and focus so that we become high financial efficiency, like a lot of us are. And how are you going to do it inside this realm? Okay, so let's take a look at this. So what you saw in those pictures, the big picture of Chicagoland and all the pictures that we have of all the offices, and even the people that aren't in offices, I want to stress this. You might say, well, I'm not close to an office. Doesn't matter. We have a lot of people, just like we have cameras in everything that we do. You could be participating in everything that I talk about tonight in our local event here in Chicago. This is how we built all the people around the country, and then subsequently built the offices we have around the country. We built people first, and then we built brick and mortar around it. Do you understand? And those people were participating online with us on a weekly basis to get stuff done, whether it be interacting with us live through cameras or webinars, or even the software platform that 25,000 of us are using around the country to do real estate with, right? So we've got people in Hawaii doing deals in Ohio because they know the people in Ohio. They use a software system to connect and find deals and money on that software system that we have. It's been fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about the ecosystem. Now, the ecosystem here is what you're viewing inside of all those offices. Our intention is not to have you be an employee ever again. Our real intention is to get you out of employment. You're looking at Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. So I came from an employee mindset, and I needed to be self-employed to start with. So what I did was I started wholesaling properties, and I wholesaled properties to people in this group that were looking for them. So all the wholesale deals that I did after I learned how to do it, I moved to business owners in this group who were the fix and flippers and the landlords of the group. Okay, now business owners, they use systems and individuals, people, to actually do business, to make money. So that's where it becomes income systems. And you know it. You know there's people that get to golf every single day because they have a business running at the shop while they're golfing. It's the same thing. So when I became a business owner, after I wholesaled properties, I said, you know what, I'm going to try this fix and flip thing on. So I became a business owner by doing a fix and flip, but I don't know how to swing a hammer or drill a hole. So I have contractors working for me, and I have realtors selling the property. So essentially I moved into the realm of having folks do stuff that I wasn't capable of doing. And then finally, the investor side, the I side, there are people that are watching these webinars or sitting in our room that have resources. They're like, you know what, I've worked with my financial planner as far as they're going to take me. I'd like to get bigger returns. I'd like to be in more control. I'd like to get bigger discounts on tax stuff I could be taking advantage of. Fantastic. Real estate's a fantastic way to do it. One of my slides here will will kind of sum it up for you. But in each of these ecosystems, and I'll give you an example. In this ecosystem here in Chicago, I was wholesaling properties through contract work, so I didn't use any money or credit. I was moving the deals to people that were looking for them. When I was ready to do my first fix and flip, it just so happens I knew the guy that was going to fund it in the group, and he didn't even know he was going to fund it and when he started. So he had lots of money when he came to the group, and we participated in study groups. Very important that you hear this. We participated in study groups together on a weekly basis, sitting next to each other. And I knew I was there when he actually came into the situation and says, hey, I just learned how to move all of my directed funds into self-direction, and I just moved $750,000. I'm like, well, congratulations, Gene. That's awesome. And Gene just happened to be the first guy that that funded my deal, right? Because I knew he'd done it. Like he didn't come in as a real estate investor. He came in wanting to control more of his money and get bigger returns. And this was just a way, the ecosystem was a way that he could do it. So if you happen to have resources on the line with us tonight, congratulations. You're part of a 25,000 person situation. You could use the software platform to lend money at bigger returns than you're currently getting. But what that means is that the self-employed people can work with the business owners, can work with the investors in the ecosystem to get deals done. And that's exactly what's happening. Let me go back to the picture. That's what's happening in these rooms. Does this make sense to everybody? So everybody learns what they got to do first, and then they actually do it competently. All right. Now we do have study groups going on a weekly basis that you could participate, even if it's remotely into this place. But there are offices and situations all over the country where these study groups are going on. You take 4 hours of a class that week, and then you come to the study group and everybody's using the same 4 hours. And then they take 4 hours again, everybody's taking the same 4 hours and using it. Okay, I'll show you those classes in a second. Okay, so there you go. So the ecosystem. So what I'm trying to get across to, well, what we're working on getting across to you over this screen is the fact that we've created these ecosystems and continue to create these ecosystems around the country. Even if you're not part of what's going on in Chicago, I've got a kid in Portland, Maine, who's never been to a meeting, but he did everything online and through the software systems has participated on deals. Okay, he's got 86 properties today. He's in Portland, Maine. Now, let's talk about how the ecosystem is powered. Okay, this ecosystem is powered by the understanding of the 4 currencies. And there are only 4 currencies on the planet. You're looking at them right now. Please take a picture of the screen. And it's usually why people are here. So the lack of money is usually or the misunderstanding of how to use their own money is usually why we find people in our rooms. I was coming down because I had no money coming in. My wife had no money coming in. We couldn't find a job. Our resumes were on the internet, but nobody was picking me up for 200 grand. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, that quantifies my possibility, my potential without having money involved. So there are 4 currencies in the world. We all agree that you take $5 down to McDonald's and you get a Happy Meal. You'll probably agree that employees use time as a currency by giving it up to employers. Knowledge, if you're a neurosurgeon, you're probably worth more than a customer service agent. That's a currency. And then finally, relationship currency is being used all over the country in banks. So if you go to a bank today and say, hey, Mr. Banker, I'd like $100,000 worth of your money, they're going to ask for your FICO score. I'll pull it up. And then they're going to say, hey, congratulations, you have treated all of our buddies real good, so we're going to lend you $100,000 too. So your credit score is your relationship score with the entire credit industry. So these are the 4 currencies. Now the key here is, before I saw this, I never quantified it that way, right? So, and I'll give you an example of how this could possibly work to billions. You guys all know Mark Zuckerberg, right? Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have a dime into Facebook, but he's worth $13 billion because of Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, it was a goof, right? In Harvard University, he had gotten dissed by a girl, and he said, you know, I'm going to get back by creating a program inside the servers where people from Harvard can go see the profiles of all these women. So it was actually a goof that he was creating to compare women and men, you know, that were kind of bullying him. So, but he was creating these profiles that everybody was checking in on to see who was who on the servers at Harvard. What he did was he knew how to code. He put time into coding this whole idea in his dorm room with a couple of his friends who knew how to code. These were relationships. And then pretty soon another relationship showed up that had helped fund another company called Napster. And said, hey, I got people that would love to fund this because what you have is a fantastic idea. So the money showed up, but he had put the time and knowledge into it, and the relationships worked to his advantage to have the money come to him. And I'm going to say this. I think the most valuable currency that you see on the screen right here is time, because we only have so much of it, right? You, to be honest, would probably like to spend more time with your kids, but you're driving to work like I used to drive, right? So it's the quality time, not the quantity. You're not going to get more of it. It's what you can put into the time now that you may be giving up to a boss that you want to shake off, right? So I think that's the most valuable currency. You ain't getting any more. Knowledge, I think, is the most important currency. You could argue with me. It doesn't matter. This is completely subjective. Knowledge is, if you don't know how to get rich, you're not going to do it. If you don't know how to break out of what you're currently doing, then you're not. If you don't know how to do a real estate deal, you're not going to do it. Does this make sense? In fact, I'm a little cursed. I took 2 classes with this whole group. One was on negotiations, right? And that negotiations class cursed me. And the other one was on raising funds, which understood how to actually have funds attracted to me, right? But those 2 classes together. Now this is the curse I have, and you'll probably have the same curse. I know I've talked to a lot of my students who do. Every time I start having a conversation with somebody, based on the negotiations class, which taught me how to look at sentences as equations. There's a verb sign that is the equal sign. Then you have a word and, which is an addition sign. You have however is a subtract, but the word but is subtraction, however is subtraction, as well as and. So all these different words in the language actually create an equation. So I learned that in class, and then I learned how to read facial expressions, vocal inflections, body language in that class. So it cursed me to the point where when I start a conversation with somebody, a meter shows up over their head like a little video game, virtual, and on one side of the meter is genius, and on the other side of the meter is not so genius. Right. So what that helps me do, and hopefully it'll help you do it soon, is not waste time on individuals. Does that sound narcissistic? It might, but it's really helped me in the business world because you don't want to waste time. You want to spend more time with your kids than you do doing business. Okay, and then relationships. Relationships, I believe, is a reward currency. So by knowing what I'm doing, by spending my time the right way, I'm actually attracting the right people into my life to make my life more efficient, right? So I attracted that money into my life because me and the money were sitting together every single week. It saw how dedicated I was. It saw how smart I was, or how intelligent I'd become through this whole idea. So I became worth more, right, with what I knew, and that relationship showed up. Now, I can tell you this. If you start with this group, you'll be instantly rich in relationships. That'll become evident in your first week. You will eventually become richer in knowledge, right, as we learn some new stuff and you start experiencing new stuff. And then you're going to be able to get your time back by quitting your job because the money's going to come in. The money's just a byproduct. And if you have enough money in your bank account, you have enough cash flow coming in, then you can actually get your time back and then give it to your kids and your wife. That's what happened for me. All right. Okay, let's read this together now that we've established who you are, what you're looking for, what we are a little bit. The information shared here is for an explanation purpose only. It represents one actual organization, the one with all the hardware back there, by the way. However, any projection of growth or income does not imply such organizations or income are typical or it is easy to build or even possible for some of the participants in the room with us tonight. Okay, I'm going to show you some amazing numbers. In fact, let me show it to you now, just so that now that we've gone over the disclaimer, maybe I can hold on a second. I'm gonna do. Hold on. Let me do that. Okay, I'm pulling out of the PowerPoint for a second here. I'm going to show you something. Because of what I'm explaining to you, my wife and I have gone from being broke and unemployed to controlling over 100 deals. This is actually just a residential portfolio. It doesn't include some of the multifamilies we have. So there's 92 properties there worth 4.4 mil and cash flowing $500,000 a year. These are what the properties look like. And I'm going to say this because I think it's funny. I was in LA earlier this year and I had a lady in LA. I was doing the same meeting. So she looks at the property values here. Look at the market value, $34,000. You guys might be going, what? Yeah, it depends on where you're at. So I'm in LA where the Rockies and the ocean kind of confine what you can do in real estate, right? So when you only have so much space, real estate naturally goes up. I live in the Midwest where you can drive for hours on the same road and never make a turn and then pass all these rural towns. So in this particular deal, It's in Danville, right? So this lady in LA says, "Oh, I don't want to work with that guy. He's a slumlord." And she was basing it on the value of the property, not the cash flow, not the folks that live there and what they make. She was assuming if the property value is low, then it must be a low income situation. Well, it's definitely lower than what's in LA, but it's average and apropos to what's going on in that town. Does this make sense to you guys? And what this does is by showing you these properties, especially where you guys might live, you might have the idea like, well, it's hard to do deals in Hawaii. You're right. But if you're in Hawaii and you're attached to a network like we have and we're creating, then you can do deals in these areas like this. I'm in LA every single week. On Wednesday, I'll be there again this week. And the individuals who run that market for us are actually doing deals in Indiana because they can't find the deals that they're buying and holding in Indiana. They can't find them in LA, and they actually use the real estate platform that we have, the software platform, to find those deals in Indiana. So everything they're doing in real estate today, and they had done real estate before. They had done multifamilies before, but they haven't done it at the clip they're currently doing it with this group. So if you're a current real estate investor on the line, please plug and play because your business will go through the roof. The guy that runs my fix and flip study group in Chicago, he had done 10 deals in a lifetime, so one a year. He came down here. Right now, he's working on 8 at the same time, fix and flips, because the resources are available, right? Just accelerates that business for him. So hopefully you guys that are doing deals are paying attention. Okay, so these properties here are just cash flowing. You know, I'm not living in them. I'm giving people an opportunity to live under a roof that we control, and that all happened in the last 10 years for us. Okay, all right, there you go. So now that I've established that, I think it's very important that you see that, so you get who you're talking to. And again, the guy that you're talking to right now came in broke and unemployed and now has all those deals. All right, so let's talk about this. So let's talk about the real estate as an income system. Take a picture of the screen. So when I came into this group, I'm a logical person. I'm not very emotional. If you can prove stuff to me and I can see it and I can touch it and feel it feels systematic, then it's good for me. This is what they showed me. The components of a deal, seller, buyer, money, that's pretty obvious. If all that shows up to a title company, you're going to have a deal conveyed. But what I didn't realize was I could actually use my personal resources like time, knowledge, and relationships to plug into a group and get deals done. All right. I'm sure that all of you guys would agree that the more you know about something, the less risky it becomes and the more rewarding it becomes. That's just represented by that triangle there. On the bottom left is the acquisition strategies, and keep in mind this slide here is 10 years old. It's my oldest slide. So the acquisition strategies have actually gone through the roof. So not only foreclosure, short sales, auctions, REOs, dealing with the banks, but you got death is an acquisition strategy, right? People die all the time. You can do a probate deal. Divorce is an acquisition strategy. Talk to divorce attorneys. Bankruptcy is an acquisition strategy. So there's lots of stuff I didn't know before I came in. I thought you go to a realtor and you buy stuff. I don't go to realtors to buy stuff anymore because usually they're on the MLS. My realtors are very important in selling stuff for me, but not necessarily buying. Okay, 4 levels of real estate investing. This is the most important box of the whole slide. Wholesaling, fix and flip, buy and hold, and money lending. If you're going to quantify real estate investing in something you've already experienced, high schoolers have freshman, sophomore level, junior, college, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, sophomore, junior, senior. So if wholesaling is the freshman level of real estate investing, fix and flip is the sophomore level of real estate investing, junior level is buy and hold, and the senior level aspect of real estate investing is actually investing the money and the resources, maybe credit. So if we want to quantify, this is my favorite. It's my prettiest slide. I drew this a while ago. All right, but if you want to look at the risk versus effort relationship between these strategies, which I think is important to understand, when I was wholesaling properties, I wasn't risking anything. So I didn't have any money or I didn't have any credit involved. I was using time as earnest. You can use earnest money. You can use earnest time. It's a very interesting concept. I took classes to make sure that I would never have to risk anything, but I was working very hard. I had to redefine myself. After coming from an executive world and going into real estate like I did, there were times I was dressed all in black and I was flyering windshields at apartment complexes, all stealthy and stuff, to get the message out that I could do for people. Putting signs in the grass, we buy ugly homes, we buy houses cash, right? So the work I had to do when I was wholesaling replaced the money I didn't have. Do you understand? I didn't risk anything, but I had to do a lot of work. When I moved into fix and flip, I used somebody else's money and somebody else's relationship. So my risk actually increased, but my effort went down because I didn't fix it and I didn't sell it. Do you understand? So I didn't have to work as hard when I was fix and flipping as I did when I was wholesaling. When I moved into buy and hold, it became riskier because now I'm actually risking on institutionalized funds that I have to pay for even if a tenant's not paying me. So let's say I got a tenant in there and they split up. Their incomes are paying the rent. Now she leaves him. And that's a challenge, right? That might be an eviction notice. Now I got to pay for attorneys and court costs. So it becomes riskier. You're married to the tenants. You're married to the property. You're married to the financing. You guys with me? But the effort goes down because now you got mailbox money coming in. Okay, and then and let me tell you about that. If you got one rental, it's a lot riskier than if you have 100. Got it? Because that 100 can then fit into one can be masked inside the 100. You can take your time and find a tenant. So the risk is also time. When you have one rental property and it's vacant, you're like, dude, I gotta fill that vacancy. But if you got 100 and one's vacant, you're not feeling it as much, and you can actually take more time to find the right tenant, right? So things change, right? So the effort in buy and hold's less because you got mailbox money. Then when you get into lending money, it is the greatest amount of risk with the least amount of effort. You might get carpal tunnel writing checks. That's your effort, right? Your risk there, but your risk is great. If you lend on a dog, it's your dog. And this is why I stress, in these rooms that I do, and I'm doing meetings all the time, you have rich people, you have doctors that have saved a lot of money, and now they're like, I want a bigger return. They're ready to take what they've got. They've hit a ceiling as far as investing in traditional stuff, and they're like, I want to explode it through real estate. I'm like, you can, but you should know what you're doing, because if you're lending on a rental situation, if you're lending on a fix and flip, and it doesn't go the way the contract that you created, and you should know how to write a contract on that stuff, right? If it doesn't go the way that indicated in the contract, you're going to have to take it over, right? So you better know how to fix and flip it if you got to finish it. You better know how that rental should work if for some reason you got to take that back. You may have people going out and finding you properties, right? Which is cool because the self-employed people will bring deals to you. You can just sit back and collect, right? However, when you're collecting, you better know what you're doing with those collections. Does this make sense to everybody? Okay. Which brings up a really good point here I want to go back to. Inside the ecosystem, what I found naturally building inside of our organization is non-arrogance or ego. What that means is the self-employed people aren't worth less than the rich people in the group as far as real estate is concerned. Because when the rich people are slipping in the group, then the self-employed people are going out and finding properties. So nobody's more important than anybody else. Everybody's got a role to play. It's like the quarterback. Might have a good quarterback like Tom Brady, but if he doesn't have a good left tackle, he's going to get hurt. It's going to be his last game. Does that make sense? So that's why tackles are some of the highest paid, left tackles, blindside tackles, are some of the highest paid people in the NFL, because that's a very important role. You guys with me? All right. Wow, this is a good training right here. Take a picture of that. What I like to do in this slide when I'm in front of rooms is compare traditional investing to real estate investing. Even right now, like cryptocurrency is so popular that it's moved into the realm of a possible real investment, right? So let's talk about that. You're working with a financial planner. You're working with, maybe you got some crypto. So crypto, precious metals like gold or silver, and stocks, right? Versus real estate investing. Let's talk about this for a second. If you can you buy some crypto and put it inside a flash drive and put it on your table at home and then wait a month and have a rent come off of it? I mean, will the crypto rent your table? No, it won't, right? So there's no income coming off of that. What about gold? I buy a bar of gold and I put it on my table at home and I wait. Is there rent come off? No. What if I'm in Seattle tomorrow? What if tomorrow when I land in Seattle, I don't go to the meeting and I take a rowboat and I row across Lake Washington to Bill Gates' 66,000 square foot house, and I get up on the dock and I pound on his door and I say, Bill, I want some money from you or some stocks, and then I put it on the table. Will that pay me a rent? No, it's not going to pay you a rent. You might get some dividends, but it's not substantial. Okay. Let's talk about deductions. Can I write off if my crypto tanks like it did in the early part of this year? Can I write that off? No, I can't go, hey, can I get a write-off? None of that stuff. If Enron happens again where they They shred all the documents they did, and your paper on Enron, your stocks on Enron worth zero. Instantly, can you write that off? No. Equity. Oh, it's my favorite conversation when it comes to just traditional investing. Can I go to Bill Gates' house? I'll row tomorrow. I'll go to and pound on his door and say, Bill, I want to buy Microsoft at half price, or do I got to buy it wherever it's going for 1-for-1? What about crypto? I ask this all the time in rooms. I'm like, hey, will you sell me your crypto for half? Like, no. I'm like, oh, there you go. No equity. What about gold? Can you buy gold for half? Not as a civilian, but maybe as a pawn shopper, right? You own a pawn shop, you can buy it for half, but it takes a lot to own a pawn shop. So you're buying gold 1-for-1, you're buying stocks 1-for-1, you're buying crypto 1-for-1, whatever the market's going for. Can you buy properties at half? Yes. In fact, I'm going to say this. If you're buying properties at full price, you're a terrible investor. But if you're buying crypto at full price, you're a good investor, right? That's what investing in crypto is. Okay, but you should never buy a property at full price if you're an investor, yes? So you get equity. Write this down. Everybody write this down. This is going to be a good training. Even if you never see me again, this will be good. The quickest way to become a millionaire in America is not to earn your way to millionaire or save your way to millionaire. The quickest way to become a millionaire in America is to close your way to millionaire. Because if you close a property with $100,000 in equity at a title company, you're worth $100,000 more like that. Isn't that great? In fact, let me show you something. You want to see something? Let me introduce you to somebody really quick here. Is he really stopping the presentation? I was enjoying it. Yes, I'm going to go to Facebook for a second here. The truth. I got a good post. I was actually sharing with myself so that I could share with you guys today. Go to Facebook. Okay, so the truth. Where everybody tells the truth, then all their lies are out there. Now, ready for this? This will give you a good idea what's going on in our group. So this kid right here is okay. This kid right here is only 23 years old. He's standing in front of a 24-unit building that he closed. This happens to be a facilitator of one of our study groups in the area, and you guys could actually participate online with us through these study groups. So this is Eddie. He facilitates the study groups. This is 23-year-old Daniel, and that's in front of his 24-unit building. But this is the closing. So this is Daniel at the closing. This is the facilitator of the study group at the closing. He's a broker, by the way, here in Chicago. And that's one of our attorneys from our group here at the closing. And these are all students. You see these students here? These are all students around the table watching the closing. So this is what we've been able to create. This is our ecosystem. Ta-da. Right? So this is the ecosystem at work. That's good for you guys to see. Now, but here's the thing. Daniel Quack just crossed, him and his brother, Sam, just crossed the $1 million equity mark in November of last year. Isn't that great? So their companies control over $1 million of equity in properties. Now, these kids have been with us for 3 years. So I knew him at 20 years old, and trust me, this disclaimer is working a big way. This is not magic beans. Danny has yet to miss a Thursday night meeting and his study groups. He doesn't miss very many Saturday workshops we have. This kid is dedicated. I was 20 years old driving my Z28 looking for my friends and some girls. This kid, I don't know if I could have been him, right? I don't know if I was that dedicated to anything back then. Got it? So my point is, when he was 20, he came down and he's latched on and never left. But this kid now, these kids have 76 doors, and they're worth, the companies they control are worth over $1 million. They have not made $1 million or saved an actual $1 million in cash yet, but the equities they control means that they're worth over that. Do you understand? That's important for you guys to understand, I think. Okay, so the easiest way to become a millionaire in America is through equities, okay? Which you can't do with stocks, you can't do with precious metals, and you can't do with crypto, just real estate. Or if you're going to buy whole companies, right? Like they do on Shark Tank. They're trying to buy equity in the company when they're actually making deals on Shark Tank, but those are rich people. Non-rich people can do real estate without using money or credit and grab that equity that they can that they create through negotiation. All right. Appreciation. Hopefully that's a good training for you. This is what crypto, gold, Microsoft, and real estate are playing in. So if you want to introduce why we're doing crypto because we're buying it now at a certain price and we're hoping that it goes up. We're buying gold now, hoping that it goes up. We're buying stocks now, hoping that it goes up. That's the only thing that really financial planners play in. The fact that you're going to invest now and then you're going to get a return based on appreciation when you're 70. Does this make sense? So, but are we playing that game in real estate too? I think it's a very interesting conversation when you say this. I bring this up in rooms all the time, and people are like, huh. Um, so, we have a new administration that got voted in, right? And the new administration, we took GDP to over 3%, which somebody told us would never happen again. It happened. And the stock market soared, like, right? And then what happened? In January, it tanked. It was like, bang, right? So it took a big dip. Now, here's a very interesting question. Did real estate go down in January, or did it just keep selling? It did. So it didn't go down. So real estate kept going up when the stock market actually took a little bit dip in January. All right. So my question for the entire room is this. If stock market goes down, is that an indication of what the real estate price is going to do? Absolutely not. The real estate market's based on what's buying, right? So is the stock market, by the way. But here's a better question. Would you agree that if properties tank like in 2008, that the stock market's going to follow? Yes. So housing prices aren't based on where the stock market is, but stock market is definitely going to be affected by the housing market. So this is something to think about. So if you had a boat tied to something, right? There's a possibility that one boat goes down, the other one stays afloat, but if the other boat goes down, it's taking the other one with it. That's what I'm trying to point out there. All right, let's talk about leverage. My favorite conversation when it comes to real estate versus traditional investing. My financial planner. So I took a class at this education company called Self-Directed Retirement Plans, and the minute I took it, I actually called up my own guy, Gus. I'm like, hey, Guzzy, I got some questions for you. He goes, yeah, what's up, Scotty? I'm like, hey, how come we're not doing real estate inside my retirement plan? And then Gus says, oh, that's too risky. And I said, it's funny that you should say that. If you and me were to go down to a bank today, right? We sit down with a guy that's going to lend, and we say, hey, Mr. Banker, I would like to buy $100,000 worth of Microsoft stock. Would you please lend me $100,000 so I can hand it to my financial planner and he can actually get me into $100,000 worth of Microsoft stock? I said, and I asked my guy, I'm like, Gus, what do you think they'd say? And here's what he said. It was like you could hear it on the phone. He's like, they would never, ludicrous face. They would never do that, right? So I said, all right, Gus, if the richest people on the planet, which is these bankers, are not willing to go into the stock market with me, why am I allowing you to put me there by myself? And I waited. What do you think the answer was? It was a very interesting answer because it wasn't an answer. He said this. He goes, where is this coming from? Who have you been talking to? Like I was talking to somebody I shouldn't have been talking to, right? I should only be talking to him about money. Where's this coming from? Who have you been talking to? I'm like, dude, I'm hanging out with these real estate investors. They're doing some really crazy, creative stuff with house savings accounts and IRAs and Roth IRAs. I said, and I took a class on this stuff, and now I'm talking to you because I'm a little more educated. But you didn't answer my question, Gus. How come if the richest people on the planet are not willing to go in the stock market, how come I'm allowing you to do it? Why aren't we doing real estate with my money? And he said this. He got honest. He goes, well, I'm not licensed to do real estate. I'm licensed to sell you these products off of Wall Street and these insurance products. That's what I'm licensed to do. That's what I do. And I'm like, okay. So if I want to do real estate inside my retirement plans, what do I got to do? He goes, well, you'd have to go self-directed. And I asked him, I said, you've been my guy for 15 years, and that advice has never left your lips, even though you're my advisor. And I'm not blaming him. The guy makes money, and what he makes money. He understands what he understands. He couldn't help me in real estate, so he helped me with what I thought he could help me with, which is what he helped me with, to a point. Right? There's a ceiling, though. When you're done having people tell you what to do, and let me give you an idea what I was done with. My financial planner was building me a nest egg. Right? He's building me something so that when I retired, I could take that nest egg home and then eat off of it. Hopefully, it would not last me. That's the idea behind the nest egg. What I was ready to do was create a chicken farm. Does this make sense? And I'll go back. Let me introduce you to my chicken farm. Ready for this? Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's the chicken farm. The chicken farm looks like this. It looks like lots of properties kicking out eggs every single month. Instead of one nest egg, my chicken farm is a bunch of chickens laying eggs, right? And if for some reason I were to kick the bucket, the chicken farm would continue to lay eggs for the prodigy, which happens to be my kids. Does this make sense to you guys? All right. That's my goal. My goal is that you learn something today. Not that you and if you learn something today, imagine what you'd learn in a lifetime with us. Does that make sense? That's how I looked at it. I'm like, you know what? If I stop coming down, I might stay dumb. I got to keep coming down to hang out with these guys. So every week I was down. All right, let's introduce you to a deal that was actually done inside of a company called Mason Matthew LLC. You ready? Just happens to be my kids' names, folks. So if you like the idea of having your kids do deals, please pay attention. So I'm just going to show you this. So the value of this property, and I know this really screwed up the LA people's heads. A 6-unit building for $400,000. No, we actually, look, some of the things you're going to learn how to do are going to be at the county courthouse. I'm just saying. Some of these properties get so laden with fines from the city that they end up in receivers' hands, and those receivers want to sell them, right? And they get benefit from that. So this particular property, we're into it for $246. It's a $400,000 value. It had to be fixed up, so it had to work. But the idea here is it's $154,000 of equity in that property. And if you could do that 7 times, congratulations. You can have the big party with the champagne and say, hey, we just crossed the millionaire mark. The rent's coming in $1,000 on these 2-2s, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. The expenses, now this, we had to finance it, so we had to put $50,000 in. We had to give $50,000 down, and they financed $196. This is using the bank's money, by the way. So instead of you having to have $246,000 into Microsoft stock, you could have $50,000 in, and they could finance the rest of that as an investment. Guys, got it? Now, $4,000 in expenses is actually a little bit higher. I rounded it up. But the point I want to make over here on the left-hand side is the NOI, net operating income, is basically your profit. So that's $2,000 a month coming in. All right? And this is what I want to show all the folks online as far as investing traditionally or in real estate. So $2,000 a month times 12 is $24,000 a month. The $24,000 divided by the real cash that I have in. So I have $50,000 in cash in the property because the bank's money is involved. Got it? And that's about $1,500 a month, plus $6,600 in taxes a year, plus the water service. These things are individually metered for gas and electricity, so that's taken care of by tenants. But the $50,000 down into the $24,000 is a 48% cash-on-cash return. And this is what I'm talking about. A lot of rich people come down here because they want to explode investing now. They're like, all right, I'm a doctor. I've had my financial planner take me as far as I want to go with them. And now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go bigger. Right? And this is a possibility because my real cash in is $50,000, $24,000 a year in returns. There you go, bang. While the tenants actually pay for the financing. Ooh, it's awesome. And I can write it off. Holy crap. On the deductions. Let's go back for a second. All right, let's go back for just a second on this one because it's going to be awesome. Let's talk about this for deductions. Now, deductions on real estate, which is something I'm going to get into taxes in a second. You can write off interest 100%. You can't do that. You can't write off your losses or anything, but you can write off. As a business, I can depreciate the property for 27 and a half years. A scheduled depreciation, even if it's appreciating. It could be appreciating in the market, but I get a scheduled depreciation for 27 and a half years against my taxes. I can write off the interest 100%. I'm not even paying the interest, the tenants are, but I can write it off as expenses. It's great, isn't it? Oh, it's awesome stuff. Here's a cool thing. We're doing Airbnbs. In fact, we've got a workshop in this building here pretty soon on Airbnbs, night rentals. You could own a property in Florida and rent it out most of the year, and then whenever you go visit, stay in your own property, or Hawaii or wherever. You want to go skiing in Denver, do the same thing. The cool thing about it is you go and visit your own property, it's going to be a write-off because you're checking out your property. And this is awesome. It's an investment property you're going to check out. You can write that trip off. Buy a property my sons are going to go to college here soon, and I'll buy a property in their college town. Maybe it's a 3-unit. They live in the bottom, so I'm not paying room and board. The 2 top ones are paying me. When I go visit my son, it's now a write-off because I'm actually visiting the property too. You guys with me on this? This is awesome stuff. The amount of deductions you get, they're going to play against whatever you do. It's going to be incredible. You're going to be able to because you're doing it as a business, you're going to be able to write off food now. You're going to be able to write off golf. You're going to be able to write off travel. Oh, so good. Real estate's so good for deductions. All right, I'm past this slide now. We're coming up on the end of this thing. I'm going super fast today. This is great. I love online stuff. So let's just go back to focus just to kind of bring it back. Remember, we're going to have you focus on something new, high financial efficiency stuff versus low financial efficiency. We're going to get you out of debt. by having income systems provide money for you while you don't have to go to work, like I've been talking about. And the write-offs and the debt acceleration and the assets. I do want to talk about one last thing. I have never needed a job since I've come into this group because they were willing to start paying me a week later. And a lot of folks on the line are like, yeah, but I got a full-time job. Okay, what if we can get you out of that job in 3 to 6 months? What if if you don't have a job right now on the webinar, you could actually start working with us tomorrow, even online, to start making some money helping us represent this product. Now, what we've been able to do, my wife and I, since we started with this group, remember, no job when we came down, neither of us, but we started getting paid right away because if you get the word out, there's a referral program attached to this education, this whole idea, that pays $200 to $8,500 per referral. Isn't that great? So I get paid $200 to $8,500 per referral, and there's an override structure behind that too. So my wife and I have been participating in this since we started. We've never needed a job since we came down. 3 days a week we focused on this out of home, and then 3 days a week we focused on real estate. You already saw what the real estate's done for us. But thank God that this was available, so we never needed a job. If you're interested in getting paid to either not need a job or get out of your job to do more real estate, then you'll come to a follow-up. We'll actually go over the different stuff in the follow-up. You can see that. All right. My last training of the day, and this is probably one of the most important trainings. My goal with all the other stuff I just talked about is to get you interested in real estate, to show you the comparisons like, hey, how to do real estate. You can actually do it with a group. You don't need money. It's all that's been talked about. However, the most important part of the conversation is about to happen for you if you've never seen us. I want to talk about life and how that can change even if you don't want to do real estate. Watch this and working with us. Your current tax, time, interest cost right now is probably close to what mine was. When I came down to this group, I used to make a living by going to work every single day. I paid taxes before, even though I didn't want to. They still took them. And the interest to the bank that I was paying was out of control, and I didn't even know it. It was out of control. It was like a cancer building in the body, and all of a sudden, you're like, oh, congratulations, you have cancer. It's incredible what the banks are doing to us, and we don't know it. And I want to dispel all that so you're clear on it and how you can move forward. Now, first thing I want to talk about is the living, because most of us go and make it. Let's talk about, because your living isn't a money cost, it's a time cost, the most valuable currency. And please, bear with me, because I want you guys as employees, if you're watching this and you got to go to work tomorrow, we can help you. Watch this. I would get up every single morning and I would get ready for a job. And I didn't think about it this way until I got down here. And when I got down here, I was thanking God I didn't have a job when I got down here, because every morning I would wake up, I would get ready for an hour. I had to be a vice president, so I had shirt and tie and suit and everything. So it took me an hour to get ready. And then I would travel in Chicago traffic for an hour. So I was giving up 2 hours of my life, not dedicated to my kids who were sleeping, but dedicated to the boss I was about to see. I didn't get paid for those 2 hours. Those 2 free hours, not to mention all the time in college and the bills, but those 2 free hours. So I'm dedicating those 2 hours without pay to the company. Then I would get to work for 4 hours, and guess what? Those first 4 hours of the job, I didn't make money. 3 of those hours were actually 40% of my money went to taxes, income tax. So technically, 3 of the hours on average for everybody, 33% of everybody's income goes to taxes first, right? So the first 3 hours of your day are actually spent making money for the government. Okay? Then the 4th hour before lunch is sales tax. So you got when I get gas in my car, there's a tax. There's a tax on property, there's tax on your vehicle, there's tax on these clothes, tax on food, right? So your first 4 hours of the day are not spent making money for you and your family. They're actually spent on an indentured service to your government. So you got 2 hours getting there and getting ready, 4 hours at the job, you're not making any money, and then you go to lunch for an hour and spend money at lunch, but you're tethered on a leash close to the office because you got to get back to the office, right? So my experience of work after the meeting was very bleak. 7 hours of my day I spent every single week day I didn't make any money, but I was already tired. By the time I got back from lunch, I wasn't allowed to make any money, and then I would go back to lunch for 4 hours, and then I would work for my family for those 4 hours, and then get back and road rage for an hour, and that was my time cost having a job. So the reason I'm explaining that to you right now is so that when you go to work tomorrow, you can look at the clock, and by the time 7 hours have clicked off, you're like, I haven't made a dime yet. And he's right. See that? So that'll motivate you to make a difference in your life. It should, right? I was very motivated to not have a job after this meeting. I'm like, I don't have a job. What's my next option? Making one with you guys. All right, ready for this? Now, I want to talk about the interest. We're going to talk about taxes. That'll be my last conversation. But I want to talk about interest because I was doing this meeting in a market once, and I had a guy. When I brought up this slide, he raised his hand and he says, if you're telling me that you're paying 33% in interest to somebody, I shouldn't have been listening to this meeting at all. I should have been doing it. And I'm like, okay, what's your interest rate on your mortgage, sir? He said 3.5%. And I said immediately, because I know how to figure it out in my head, I go, you're paying more than 33% in interest on that loan. No, I'm not. I'm like, yes, you are. If you do not know how to figure out a mortgage, please do this. And listen, I stand in front of her rooms all the time. 3 times a week, I stand in front of her room. And I ask this all the time for all the older folks in the room. I'm like, hey, who can tell me if a guy tells me he's paying 3.5% on his mortgage, who can tell me what his real principal to interest ratio is, which means that he paid off his principal and paid all this interest. How much interest did he pay on the complete loan? Can you tell me based on the 3.5%? Well, it matters what his loan amount is. It $1 million? Nope, that doesn't matter. We're talking about a simple interest to principal ratio based on 3.5% over the life of the loan. Let's say it's 30 years. And nobody raises their hand. You know why? Because we're not taught this at 18 years old in high school, even though all of us are going to get a mortgage or some type of amortized debt someday. And there's a reason. You ready for this? The banks don't want you to know. They put all the truthing lending statement in the back. The only thing that you care about, as we care about, I should say, as consumers, is what's our monthly payment. So when we sit down for a mortgage, we're like, hey, I want to get this mortgage on this $200,000 house at 5%. They're like, hey, we've got you a 5% rate. Congratulations. I'm like, what does that mean every month? Like, what's my payment every month? And the reason we ask that question is not because we're thinking about our life. We're thinking about our life every 30 days. Every single bill that we have, our car bill, our house bill, our electric bill, our gas bill, our tuition bill, every bill, our phone bill, every bill we have is 30 days. And that's what we've been trained to think, almost like Pavlov's dogs, right? That's all we care about. I'm suggesting that you stop caring about the 30 days and you start really care about life. And this group helped me do it. All right, watch this. If you take, ready for this? I'm going to give you the equation. Take whatever the interest rate is, multiply it by the number 2, and then add a 0 to it. Just add a 0 to it. So in his case, 3.5%, I multiply that by 2, I get 7. If I add a 0, it's 70. So his principal to interest ratio is about 70%. So I told him, the minute he goes, well, I'm paying 3.4. I go, you're paying more. He goes, no, I'm not. And then I showed him this slide. Ready? Oh, get close. Take a picture. Because now I'm showing you the real evil in the banking system with one slide. In fact, the banks, the lenders will never put the slide in front of you because you'll walk out before you take the loan. Ready for this? Let's take a look at this. All right, the red represents what you're paying in principal, and the blue represents what you're paying in interest. And if you look at the 0 mark on this graph, this is a $200,000 mortgage at 5% over 30 years. At the 0 point, you're paying this much principal and this much interest. In fact, if you take your fingers and you put it up against that, you're going to realize you're paying 225% in interest on the first payment. Congratulations, Americans. They got us. Even if you go 5 years in, so let's say you make a payment for 5 years, on time, 5 years of payments. If you look at that, it's still 175% interest 5 years in. That's the real interest on the payment that you're making, is that much interest, right? Now, this is where the evil comes in. This is how I know. This is proof the banking industry is evil. You see that red mark right in the middle, about year 16-ish? Why don't they want you to get to that mark? So the banks are like, well, we got to figure out how to keep them away from this mark right here. And I'll tell you why. Because you'll notice that the red starts out doing the blue, which means that you get more house than they get interest. You guys with me? On every payment. The reason they don't want you to get there is because you start winning and they start losing. So they came up with this ingenious product. Then they've duped us for years on it. So if you make your payments for 5 years on time, and you're going to get some type of correspondence that says, hey, congratulations. You've paid us on time, Julie, every single month. You qualify for a refi. Come on down. Get your toaster and a savings Savings. Yep. If you come down and refi right now at the interest rate we're suggesting, you're going to save $300 a month. And that's where they get you, your fish brain. Your 30-day fish brain says, wait a minute. If I refi with you, I'll save $300 a month. I get to keep that money instead of give it to the bank. Yep. I'll do it. So they run down because they like saving money, the pseudo saving every month. So they run down, they refi out. Guess what happens to the loan? It shifts back to zero. Now you're over 200% in interest again. Hey? Terrible, isn't it? And I'm going to tell you this. If the banks don't want to see you win in the middle and they keep pushing you to the edge where they make all the money, isn't that evil? Amortization equals evil. Okay? So you understand, like some people have refied out 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? Let me tell you something. I have a friend of mine who's been in the banking industry for years. I mean, he's a vice president of a mortgage company. He's made over $300,000 a year. He's in New York, and he saw this, and he's like, you know what, I'm not buying it. Then he took the class. The minute he took the class, it's an 8-hour class that he took on. He was at home taking the class. He texted me the night he took it. I've known him for 20-some years. He texted me. He goes, you have ruined my life. He goes, I cannot morally refi anybody out anymore based on what I just took. And he'd been in the industry. So it's so deep-seated that when every time he refied somebody out, he felt good about it because he realized he was helping them save money every single month, but he was killing them. Less than 10% of Americans actually pay off their mortgages all the way. The banks are making all the money. And if you want to continue that, no problem. All right. Here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to ask you guys a question. If you are telling me after this meeting that you're fine with the pie chart the way it is, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. If you decide to work with us, within 2 weeks of working with this group, my wife and I's pie chart went from this to this. Isn't that great? I took enough classes to take care of my amortized debt early and to take care of my taxes immediately. Okay? So here's the key. If you're telling me that you'd rather live a life like this than like this, a meter might show up over your head for me. Right? I tell people that all the time. Because I'm like, that's obvious. Like, I'd rather have 80% living, which means I'm now going to make more on my time. Right? I'm going to get rid of my job. I'm going to start making more. And I'm going to pay taxes less. I'm going to pay interest less. Now, the tax conversation, this is my ending training today. The tax conversation is the most important conversation, I believe, between you and I today. Because even if you're coming here without being a real estate investor, even if you're coming here without any kind of amortized debt, you don't have a car loan, you don't have a student loan, you don't have even a house loan yet, you're still probably paying taxes, right? And the ability to pay them better is really what we're suggesting here today. So take a picture of this screen right here, please. Today I'm Morpheus for you, right? You either got a red pill or a green pill after this meeting. You choose, right? That's why we call it the tax matrix. All right, you got a picture? All right, I'm going to unbuild this or deconstruct it. Okay, here we go. The real difference between high financial efficiency and low financial efficiency when it comes to taxes, and the rich people on the line might be low financial efficiency when it comes to taxes based on how they're handling it, really comes down to control stuff or own stuff. Do you control stuff or do you own stuff? Starting with your cash flow. If you are making your money on your Social Security number, congratulations, you have given the government by law the right to take what they believe is theirs first. They can take their money and then hand you the leftovers. They take their money and hand you leftovers. Take your money, hand you leftovers if you're signed up on your social, even if you're on a 1099, where you get all the money in commissions and then have to put a little bit away for taxes because you're going to owe it anyway every quarter or every year, right? The way that within 2 weeks, I was controlling my cash flow through EIN numbers. And some people are like, well, you have to own a company. Yes, you do. And you have to make money through that company in order to actually cover it that way. Yes, you do. Some people are like, I don't have a company. I'm like, well, if you're going to become a real estate investor, you're going to have multiple companies. I have multiple LLCs controlling risk inside these LLCs, right? I have an S Corp that represents me. Now, ready for this? I tell people, I'm like, well, I make money at my company. I can't go to my human resource department and say I want to be paid on an EIN. You're right. So we got to get you out of that situation fast. And the way to do it is by owning a company that might refer people. So my wife and I, the secret behind what we were able to do was we started referring a lot of people to the meetings, and they started paying us a lot of money for doing it. Does that make sense? So we started referring people as a business opportunity, which we ran through an EIN number. And we have made millions of dollars through EIN numbers. Now, let me tell you something. I have not gotten a check personally in my name or on my social in over 7 years. No need. You're like, what? Yes. I claim my income every quarter. I don't earn it by checks on a weekly basis, which means that if I go, and I don't own anything. I don't own stuff. Okay, so I'll explain. But if I go to see the movies, let's say my son and I went to go see Black Panther, right? Actually, we went to go see latest movie we saw was Ready Player One. So we went and seen Ready Player One last week, and there was a $10 ticket for him and a $10 ticket for me. Right? Which means that we had to make $30 that day. So I had to make 10 and 10, which was for us, and then a $10 for the government. So that day, my income had to be $30 to cover the 2 tickets and the taxes paid for the personal income for the 2 tickets, because I couldn't write those tickets off through my business. So I do not make money. I claim an income based on what I can't write off. That's it. That's how low my fingerprint is. Okay? And you might say to yourself, well, what about a home? What about cars? What about your cell phone? Good point. In my world, my income tax when I used to actually make money as an employee was 33 to 40% of my life. Okay? Now it's 0. So all the money coming in my life, I don't pay taxes on. And you'll agree with me. Watch this. When a tenant gets up out of my one of my rentals to go pay the management company, is the IRS outside of the door going, hey, is that going to Scott Rowe? Give me 33% of that. And I'll take the rest of the management. Or does 100% of that check go to a business bank account? Exactly. Every time I refer somebody to this situation that we get paid on, like you could, I'm running that through an EIN number, not my social, right? So I had to shed the need for jobs, so they didn't tell me how I got paid, and I started creating business so I can determine how I get paid. And in my case, I don't get paid. I just claim income on a quarterly basis. All right, watch this. This is the real key. Are you spending money on stuff, or are you using money on stuff? It could be the same amount of money, but how you do it is really the key. I'm going to give you an example. I used to have to pay for cell phones. I don't do that anymore. So me, as a person, Scott, I don't spend money on a cell phone because I don't have one. But my company has one that I can use for business. Get it? Use versus spend. So this cell phone is in the company name. Got it? So AT&T, recognized Chicago Business Development Group, has a phone that I use. So I don't have to make money for a cell phone because I don't have one. But my company pays for it, right? That's the one I use. So now I turned this liability into an asset. You with me? All right, what about cars? I have 5 vehicles to choose from today, including a Lamborghini, but I don't own any of them. I control them through the company. I can drive them anywhere I want, and you're going to see exactly why I make so much money on one of them. You guys with me? All right, what about a house? This is going to really fry your brain. Is it possible to pay $1 in rent to have a roof over your head? Yes or no? This is the best part. All right, so let's say you pay off your house through Velocity Banking quick, 5 to 10 years. Done. You can then quit claim the deed to your company and then negotiate a contract to lease from that company for $1 a month, including on the contract your TV, all your furniture included, your electricity included, your gas included, your whatever included, right? Fully furnished, gas, electricity, internet, cable, all included. So what I'm suggesting is, if I can remove this need of income, if I can remove vehicle need of income, if I can remove shelter need of income, I don't need to make any money for have those things because they're provided by a company I'm using. How much money do I really need to make personally? Little, right? I mean, I have to claim it. Ready for this? This based on what I just explained to you, I qualify for government assistance. Isn't that great? I know what you're thinking. That's evil. No, I don't use food stamps. I'm not on Affordable Care Act, right? That would be evil because now I'm using your tax dollars to feed me. I don't do that. that is all money coming through that I need to actually claim on a quarterly basis. In fact, the company paying for like Blue Cross Blue Shield could be stipend to you as a contracted worker to the company, and that would be taxed. You guys with me? All right, life taxes in play. 30, right? 30. So on the bottom, 100% of my money made, government coming in before I touch my check, taking 33, minus 50% expenditures I can't write off, minus 10% equals 7% left over. This is the money that I was taking to my financial planner to try and build a nest egg. I don't have that anymore. I have a chicken farm, and that chicken farm is the income. Does this make sense? See, you're building a nest egg on the backside. I'm using my chicken farm on the front side. Minus 0% in income tax, minus 50% in usage, minus usage of the company, right? Minus 10%. This is all company stuff now. Minus 40% is equals 40%. Now, would you rather have 7% left over or 40% left over? Yeah. Okay, ready for this? This is the magic. This is where my company starts getting taxed on income. So the companies actually get taxed on net resolve after expenses, whereas humans get taxed on 100% gross. So I used to get taxed before my expenses. I now get taxed after my expenses as income. And it's a decision by you. What are you deciding to do? All right, now you get to bring over the deductions. Isn't that great? So now you're going to bring over all these receipts where you didn't do it on the bottom. In fact, let me tell you something really, really, really cool. How many of you guys are writing off trumpet lessons or soccer lessons or karate lessons or singing lessons? How many of you guys are writing off hot lunches for your kids? How many of you guys are writing off prom? How many of you guys are writing off Christmas gifts? If you're not doing that, there is a way to do it. You don't actually write off the receipts, you write off the kids. So my kids are working inside of a family management company I have a family management company. So we pay them to do work. It could be chores, it could be shredding documents, it could be cleaning up the office, my home office, right? But I'm paying them, and then they pay for their own trumpet lessons, and then they pay for their own Christmas gifts. But the paying on the way in is what I'm getting 100% tax deduction on. Crazy, right? Within 2 weeks, I learned how to do all this stuff. 2 weeks. It's crazy. All right, so my net tax rate right now is about 8%, whereas that used to be my savings. And so I get to keep 32% of my leftovers. So simple question. Would you rather have 32% of dollars left over or 7% at the end of the week? Which one? It's pretty simple. So and then I take that to the next level. I start controlling stuff when I'm investing, or you save stuff. I used to save stuff. I used to take my 7% and go deal with experts that told me what to do with my money so I could build a nest egg. Today, I take the 32% because I know more than those guys. I've exploded myself. So I hit a level. You hit a ceiling when you're dealing with other professionals. But if you want to know what you're doing, learn how to do it, start working with people that can help you do it. So now I have rolling real estate working for me. That car actually makes me money. So I turned it from a liability into an asset because I knew how to do real estate. That is a rolling real estate deal right there. And we actually do real properties. Okay. I have somebody else in my team doing this. So we make referral money. So I make $200 to $8,500 per referral. So can you, right? And if you learn how to do that through this company, then you could actually make money on your cars. I have a 25-year-old kid doing it. I got a 27-year-old kid doing it. I'm also doing it. All right. Take a picture of this. I've been talking about all this learning stuff, right? So myrenatus.com is the company that has paid me millions for referrals. So they've paid me a lot. They're willing to pay you starting next week for driving cool cars if you want. But it's also the company that taught me how to do real estate investing. So everything I've given you today as far as a little bit of an education all came from them first. Then I started implementing it with the group inside of this ecosystem, and it's worked out really well for my wife and I. So ready for this? Take a picture of this. I'm not going to read it to you. This is a comparison between the second best real estate investing education company in the country and the number one rated per the BBB. MyRenatus being the number one rated. Okay. Take another picture. They are willing to pay you referral money, so maybe take a picture of that and figure out what that is. Okay, and this is the founder. So this is why he started the real estate investing education company he started. He kind of took a look at what the other programs had out there and why they didn't work as well as what he could put together. So he actually took, hey, what's the ugly, the good, the bad, the ugly? How can we make it better? Right? That's what he did. All right, take a picture of this. If you would like to, remember the pie chart I just showed you with the interest, with the taxes, with the income. This could take care of that. So this, when I tell people, would you like to change that pie chart? Yes, that's the most exciting thing I heard today. Great. This is all you'll need. You're going to need to tax and legal strategies. You're going to need to take self-directed retirement plans. You're going to need to take credit management and velocity banking. Those are the life hack classes. So you currently are paying too much in all this stuff, then this is why. Then it does break you into real estate. So creative acquisitions taught me how to put properties under contract without using money or credit. I learned real estate foundations, which is how to close deals from start to finish, how that works legally, what entities I needed in play. Real estate marketing helped me attract stuff to me that I didn't need to go find myself. Real estate red flags, who should I run from, what should I run from? Idea of doing half the battle of doing good deals is knowing what bad ones look like. Deal of the decade, so I didn't need realtors to find me properties anymore. My realtors are very important in selling them, but not finding them. Then I got in my fix and flip curriculum. I learned how to do fix and flips, including raising funds. So in the beginning, I didn't have any money, but I was still doing fix and flips because they taught me how to have money find me and how to talk to it responsibly. Lease with an option to buy. That's all a buy and hold stuff. So I learned how to become a landlord and a property manager. Well, I deal with property managers here. Short sales. You got multifamily. You got notes, tax liens, and deeds. These are all curriculums, right? So you're talking about vocational tracks. That is a beginner track. That's a vocational track. If you want to make your vocation fix and flip or wholesaling, you want to make your vocation buy and hold, you want to make your vocation doing short sales and helping families out, you want to make your vocation multifamily, notes, tax liens, and deeds. If you want to be the bank, if you're already rich and you want to create the right documentation, this is how you do it. And then commercial real estate, and then finally the bonus track. Remember the negotiations class I talked about right here? That's it right there. Raising money in partnerships, very advanced level stuff. The live help that I got, so there was group coaching I didn't pay for. There was one-on-one coaching I didn't pay for because it was included. There are live classes I could go to online or at the campus in Utah for life. So I only invested once. I had to finance it because I was broke, so I financed my education once, and then I got to go forever. So they've never shut the classes off on me. I've never had to pay again. It's been awesome. And every year it's different. So 07 was different than 08. 08's different than 09. 09 is different. So there's always new economies. There's new strategies, new laws. These guys were redoing the classes. I didn't have to pay again. It was great. Now the local teams. Now this is what we're creating around the country, especially with these webinars. Monthly workshops every single month. We have a monthly workshop twice a month in this building. We just had one this past weekend for the enrolling and referring side. We do have an Airbnb workshop happening in this building on the 20, I believe, nope. Is it 21st of April? Maybe. But the next one, in the third week of the month, we have an Airbnb nightly rentals. You may want to contact the person that invited you here. You could participate online. We have cameras in this building. You could participate in that workshop online and actually test drive how good it is. Weekly study groups every single week. You can participate in those online or live in one of our buildings. And then I have webinars every single morning that you can participate. You're going to have questions on Monday morning. We'll have answers on Tuesday morning. You may have questions on Tuesday. We're going to have answers on Wednesday morning. We have done that since 2008. So you could be in your jammies. I'm in my jammies. We're having some fun in our jammies. Okay. Here we go. All right, take a picture of this. This was the menu. And when this showed up, let me do this for you. I had seen another program, a very significant, well-named program in a hotel for 3 days at a hotel, and they wanted a lot of money, and they wanted it now. It was crazy. And when this next slide showed up, I said this. I told the guy, I'm like, that's it? That's way cheaper than what I saw in a hotel. He was like, I know. So here you go. So $1,997 will take care of that pie chart for you. That's all you need for the pie chart. If you'd like to start taking vocational tracks, you can take 2 or you can take them all. That's how they come. You can choose 2 or you can choose them all with lifetime access. Isn't that great? It is for 2 people, so my wife got to go for free. And this was what they were willing to pay me for referrals. So isn't that crazy? So if you're interested in, you can actually do this without actually getting the education. So you guys could refer people and make money without ever being a student. That was pretty cool. Pretty cool idea. They do have guaranteed financing. So everybody on the line that's listening to this right now, you're guaranteed financing, which was good for me because I had no money when I came in. So I could not afford any of the education, but it didn't stop me from having it the next day. Cool. And there's a money back guarantee. There is a 7-day right of rescission. You'll actually, if you had your contract signed, you could be taking classes as soon as possible online. And if for some reason you didn't think those classes were worth it, you could cancel before the 7 days is up, and they wouldn't have even run your financing or any kind of payment that you had submitted. So it was pretty cool. So they're like, hey, you got 7 days. Watch some classes and tell us if it's not good enough for you. I'm like, that sounds good. Wow. All right, my wife and I, we've become some pretty successful people. My wife and I were in trouble financially when we came down here, to the point where our life was very stressed out. Right? I mean, I think the only reason we're together today is because we had a 2-year-old at the time. We were actually more dutiful to the 2-year-old than we were to the marriage. I mean, it was a tough time. I'm happy to say we're not divorced, and I'm a lot sexier with the bank accounts we have today, so things are good. Here's something that you will experience if you decide to start with us. I have made way more money helping people make 6 figures than I ever did competing for 6 figures with a resume. Does this make sense to you? Like, if I had my resume out there, I'm looking for 6 figures, but I'm looking to beat somebody out of that. But in this game, I've helped a lot of people get to 6 figures, and I've made a lot of money because I've helped them get to 6 figures. We all collaborate. Rich people collaborate. Poor folks compete. All right. That's the outside of my building, by the way. So the building I'm sitting in right now, that's the outside. So now we have commercial space too. This is a 7-year-old real estate investor. This is a 13-year-old real estate investor who just turned 13 yesterday. And I wanna share this with you because this is my favorite story of the day. This is my last slide, by the way. When Maddie was 6, we went to Great America for the first time, and he loved it. It was a Sunday, and we, lots of cotton candy and rides, and that atmosphere, Bugs Bunny and stuff was great. We woke up on Tuesday eating Cheerios, watching the Disney Channel, and he turns to me and he says, "Daddy, what are we doing today?" I'm like, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" He goes, "Can we go back to that Great America place?" So I'm driving the Lamborghini down the highway, making the money, the 1,000 to 10,000, right? I parked the car in the parking lot to make 1,000 to 10,000, and we're inside the park with my little boy. I am, and he notices something about Tuesday that is much different than Sunday. The fact that we're getting on rides quicker and off rides is something he noticed. He's like, "Daddy, where's everybody at? It was a lot more crowded the other day when we were here." I'm like, "They're at work. Let's get on the ride." And so he plants his feet in the asphalt, and I'm walking towards the ride, and I look back, and I'm like, "Come on, buddy." He goes, "Dad, I got a question." I'm like, "Come on." He goes, "Dad." So I had to come back and collect my son, and I'm looking him in the face. I'm like, "What's up, buddy? There's a ride waiting for us." And he looks at me and he goes, "How come you and Mommy don't go to work?" Isn't that great? Like, the kid at 6 years old noticed. And because he doesn't have weekends like other parents, right? Like, they work all week and they have a weekend. They work like we're home when he goes on the bus every day. Right? It's weird for him. Now, no, that's normal for him. Weird is work. Isn't that great? So I look at him, I go, "Oh, what a great question. Your mom and I are different. We did have jobs. We went to work, and then we lost our jobs, and then we met your Uncle Bob Tierney, your Uncle Sandy, your Uncle Justin." So I started mentioning all these real estate aunts and uncles that he knows, and I said they helped us. And so today, you, me, Mommy, and Mason, we're real estate investors. So I include my kids in the conversation. Today we have renters who actually go to work, and they get a check, and they come back and live in a property. They live in a house that we provided. So they pay us for that. So right now they're at work making money so that we can ride roller coasters with you. I said we have contractors. These are people like Bob the Builder that saw and drill and all that paint stuff. So they're working on properties so that we can ride roller coasters with you. So they're working for you there so we can ride roller coasters here. I said we have people who sell properties for us. They're called agents, and they're actually busy selling stuff for us so that we can ride roller coasters for you. I said, "But Daddy's Lamborghini?" "Yes, Daddy." "Do you know why Daddy has words on the side of the Lamborghini?" "No, Daddy." Because every time somebody sees that car in the parking lot, you, me, Mommy, and Mason, we get a chance to make $1,000 to $10,000 for helping those people out. So right now, the car's in the parking lot working for us so I can ride roller coasters with you. And my son looks at me and he says this is magical. He goes, "Daddy, well, why doesn't everybody do that? I mean, they could all be at Great America with us right now." So at 6 years old, he realized that everybody should have stickers on their cars if that's how money's made. So if that's how my son is thinking about how money's made these days at 6, what do you think he'll be at 18 and 21 and 20? This is his world now. Does that make sense? Unfortunately, my parents put together a world of struggle and of hours and daycares and stuff. Does this make sense, you guys? So you guys have always had the power to help your kids become whatever they want. Sometimes we have to become it first. All right, folks. What I would do if I were you is get back in touch with the person who invited you, because you can get to a follow up to get all your questions answered, even if it's online or at one of our buildings. Get all those questions answered. Contact the people that got you here. If you're interested in doing the referring side, we'll talk about the follow up. If you're interested in the financing, we'll talk about that at the follow up. But get those questions answered before you make a decision. We're not looking for impulsive people. We're looking for intelligent people, and hopefully that'll be you. All right, guys. I look forward to it. Let me just pull this back up. Let me just find out. Oh, there we go. All right, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.